everybody, Captain Happy here, and first off, I will say apologies for the few days without any uploads. With the new patch 8.3.1, there was a bit of a glitch with the replay system, so I wasn't able to play replays if I changed the name or moved them to another file, so it took me a couple days to figure it out. In the meantime, though, I had a couple very fun games, and as you can see here, we are once again looking at the Tier 10 French cruiser, the Henri. It has proven itself to live up to the reputation. It does everything that the Hindi does and better. So really quickly, I'll go over the modifications and captain skills again. I do have the engine boost mod 1 that I purchased, and it is very, very valuable. However, if you don't, any one of these other mods is valuable. Probably I would go with the damage control system mod 1 though. Next is aiming systems mod. Is a 20 plus kilometer range. You want to be able to hit your targets any little bit better or more accurately than you can. So main battery mod 2 is valuable though, as your turret traverse is pretty slow. So next is propulsion mod 2. It meshes very, very well with the speed burst and juking. And then the legendary mod, obviously. Plus 8% to the firing range, minus 12% to the reload. Any little bit that can give you an advantage in pumping more DPM downrange. Concealment, if you don't have the legendary mod, is definitely valuable. However, steering gears is valuable as well too. Since your concealment can't really get down that low, you want to be able to maneuver, so either of those is valuable. Main battery mod is for my final slot. Again, more DPM. However, you can boost the range up over 20 if you wanted to, so that's valuable as well. So we'll take a look at the captain. Very first 1-point skill is kind of obvious. I do have the special French captain. Priority target, because always priority target. Expert marksman, because he has a boost, and as I just mentioned, the turret traverse leaves something to be desired, so that helps there. Adrenaline rush, for what will be the third time me saying more DPM is good DPM, especially with 240mm guns. Superintendent, for an extra charge of everything, comes in very useful almost every time. And concealment, because you might as well be at 15.9 instead of 16. And then finally, inertia fuse, because this makes you a threat with your HE to literally everything. Well, literally everything for now, until we get the Russian battleships with their 60mm of armor. Probably the last 3 points I'll go with Demo Expert though, just to increase the fire output. Really quickly, I wanted to look at the armor layout too. Bow and stern are 25mm, so you are still pretty vulnerable to a lot of HE and a lot of stuff that can come your way. You do have 30mm in your midsection, which is nice, and when you look at the different angles here, as long as you can keep your ship angled, and in particular this angle where you're going to spend a lot of time kiting from things, your stern is vulnerable, yes, but at 30mm along your side, I've found it very, very useful in mitigating a lot of potential damage that comes in. Of course, the main mitigator is your maneuverability, is using your priority target to know who's shooting at you, maybe when, and be able to juke if necessary. And you can see there the detection is 15.9. That's pretty horrendous for a cruiser, but with 20-kilometer range, you aren't really supposed to be very close to targets. So I've also found, yeah, you can see the torpedoes, 9-kilometer, they're kind of token torpedoes, so you use them in extreme situations, but usually as far as mitigating damage, your biggest advantage is your maneuverability, is your range. And in this replay that I have, you'll see great examples of that. Also, kind of, the ship is not meant to be charging in or brawling. However, you will see an example of how it can stand up if you do everything just the right way. So, with that said, we'll take one more look at what I consider to be one of the best looking cruisers. And I don't know, it's a personal thing, but I love how the bow has that angle and that slope up. So you see here we're in a tier 10 battle. There's a couple tier 8s, a couple tier 9s, and then a CV on each side. Now, the tier 10 British CV, the Audacious, is threatening to a degree. It's nowhere near what the Midway is in particular, and its dive bombers, which on the British CV aren't dive bombers per se, and I kind of like that. As long as you're in the Henry and you're aware that it's coming, you're actively maneuvering, those bombers don't pose a huge threat. We start off on the sea side, and this map from the North Spawn does have what I consider to be a bit of an OP island, at least relative to the South Spawn. And it's the one you can see right there at D8. Now, as this game turns out, I almost wanted to make this a From the Jaws of Defeat video. Things do look pretty significantly grim. I would say less than halfway in, actually pretty early on. You can see our Udaloy and our Benson are charging right into sea, and me and my division mate, Devogo, who I've featured in a couple other videos, are both in Henrys, and we're both trying to put ourselves in a position where we can support C and B, but do so at range. And even though we're heading to the middle of the map, the idea here, and this is a great thing to keep in mind, I think overall, but certainly in the Henrys, is to not allow yourself to be fired at from two different directions. Basically, do what you can to not allow a crossfire on yourself. So if we can stay, not at the back of the map, but keep ourselves in this relative position here, we should only have fire coming at us from one main direction. So as things go on, looks like the enemy CV has spotted both our DDs and C, and the enemy has already begun capping. Now the other thing that I've been noticing quite a lot as I sail my Henry, and I don't know if it's the ship. There's a couple different thoughts I have on why this could be the case, but certainly throughout the first 5 or 6 minutes, maybe even a little bit more of this replay, watch my priority target indicator carefully. Right now it's not showing anything. I'm obviously detected because you can basically be detected from the moon. And for reference, the Yamato's detection is only a little bit more than 1 kilometer further than the Henry. And there, the Shima gets both our DDs that went into sea. So, not a good start. But see, watch the priority target and pay attention to how often there's more than 3 or 4 ships targeting me, and for the life of me, I don't know why. Maybe the Henry has developed a bit of a reputation, and we're in a double Henry division, so that might have something to do with it. There it goes to 5, jeez. But either way, it's just something that I've been noticing a lot recently, and it features in this video quite substantially for a good chunk of the battle. So putting some fire, threw it downrange on the Zhao and the North Carolina, and now trying to not necessarily, well, not necessarily support C anymore, as we lost both our DDs in seconds on this cap. But try and do what we can to throw some fire downrange and slow any enemy push that might come through C, especially if what they wanted to do was come north and create an enveloping formation or crossfire. Do what we can to kind of discourage that. So I start shooting at the Des Moines until I can't shoot at the Des Moines anymore, as he takes up a relatively good position behind that island there. And as you can see, so right now, really the only disadvantage we are at is the 2-ship disadvantage. The enemy just started to retake B, but we did have control of that until this point. So I do what I can to start trying to reset, but what you'll see here, and you know, I might not be the greatest shot in the world. It's taken some time, but I've gotten used to the arcs on the Henry, and they're not bad, even at range. But especially trying to hit an enemy destroyer that's actively maneuvering at 15, 14, 13k, it's not the easiest thing in the world. And as you can see, I take 3, maybe 4 salvos at him, and don't land a single hit, unfortunately. But, you know, it is what it is. The last thing I want to do is really push myself into B because of that substantial enemy force coming from C. So now our team is very much in trouble, down 2 caps to 1 and down still by 2 ships. I wouldn't say we have to make a move now, but we're getting ourselves into a bad way really quick. We do pull 1 back. Our Stalingrad kills one of the enemy DDs, which is nice, and the Zao pops up, showing broadside, and I would have liked to have thrown more at the Zao, but A, it dropped off of detection, and B, I felt like, alright, I'm at the point now where I need to turn back and start putting some more fire on these ships at sea. Start to, if anything, push them, and my clan mate and division mate, Devo, started doing the same thing. He's already back in that position, where we want to push them west. We do not want them coming north. So we turn around, and really it's, as you can see by the mini-map, it's just me and my division mate. It's just me and Devo who have any kind of gunpowder on this side of the map. So we have to try and do something, and for the most part, at this point, it seems to be working. Most of the enemy ships that were at sea have decided to not push north. They are pushing more through to the west, which, you know, I would still, it's important to start killing enemy ships and start getting some of the points back, but at the same time, if our presence here can discourage them from moving north and enveloping our entire team, that's a good start at least. And here we begin one of the most annoying parts of this whole battle for me, where the enemy minnow takes an interest. And boy, I just recently unlocked the minnow myself. I will be doing a maiden voyage video for that. I'm enjoying her. She's definitely fun, used the right way, and can be very, very annoying. As you can see here, every time I zoom back, just all that fire coming my way. Now, the advantage, as I was talking about when we were in port, is what you'll see me doing a tremendous amount of is not only actively maneuvering port and starboard, but playing red light, green light with my throttle. And I think it, especially when you have your speed boost active, it might surprise a lot of people how effective using the throttle to go left and right, or not left and right, sorry, speed up, slow down can be. And in the meantime, I get a total of 3 citadels on the 2 enemy Des Moines that are pushing through be right now, which, again, it'd be way cooler to nuke them, but at the same time, I'll take any damage we can get, because now our team is down 3 ships to 1, and still 2 caps to 1, so it's, at this point, really, really not looking like a fun or easy slog through this game. Finally, though, I do drop off detection so that Minnow stops shooting at me, and that actually played some of a factor in me not opening up on the NC to begin with, but then we see the Baltimore, and yeah, that's a juicy target. I'm hoping to punish with the AP, and you'll see here, yeah, 1 over penetration, that's not great, but don't take that as kind of gospel for this ship. The AP, even at range, is deadly, and even against battleships. Now, that being said, it is a time and a place kind of armament. Oh boy, we lose our Hindenburg and our Montana, and now, this is the point in the game, and the point in this replay, where I really thought that an appropriate place for this was to be in the jaws of defeat, and even in chat, the enemy team's already saying, yep, okay, well, this is ours. Thankfully, though, we get good orbs on Baltimore from Arshima. That's, you know, it's only the tier 8 cruiser, but every kill we can claw back is going to be a positive at this point. And Arshima managed to sneak in behind the enemy and take C. Now, that's where you see the big advantage to me in keeping the enemy from moving north. That play would not have been possible if even some of the enemy ships had continued north through C instead of going directly west. So that's going to serve us something, and here, I spot that annoying Minnow, and he recognized pretty quick what was happening, that we had a Shima there, and he turned around to, well, not necessarily defend the cap anymore, but come back and maybe, if I were him, try to retake it and maybe kill our Shima that was here. So immediately, although I don't know, yeah, I did switch to AG, I switched back to AP, because there is no angle that Minnow can take against me that will protect him from my 240mm AP, and you will see right here exactly the kind of potent damage that this ship can pump out. 5-second reload with the reload booster and all the modules and everything, and with AP going, that is 1 entire Minotaur dead in 4 salvos. So that felt kinda good. And similarly, it also brought us back close point-wise, so not only did I take care of the ship that was annoying the crap out of me for a few minutes, but it was a big help to our team and to our Shima. However, his problems aren't over, as the enemy Des Moines also came back, and unfortunately, the Des Moines manages to finish off our Shima. Now, for me, I did not anticipate the Des Moines coming back. I knew the Minnow was, because what I'm doing right here is not necessarily what I'd call advisable in the Henri, and she's not a brawler. You're not supposed to push in. That being said, against the Des Moines, who is not full HP, and yes, I'm only a little over half myself, the damage output here, I can out-trade him if I shoot well enough. Now, I do make a mistake here, even though with the AG, I get consistent 5k salvos, which is really, really nice. What I should have done from the beginning here is switch to AP, as I do after this salvo here, and try and break some of his guns. Now, I do, and I actually end up being very grateful that I do, because it diminishes his firepower significantly. But I spend a little too much time trying to break his guns, and there, 2 salvos there, I could have killed him already. But it took me an extra salvo, and still managed to outbrawl a DM, which was nice. Now the Audacious takes an interest, and almost gets me there. But you can kind of see thankfully I had a heal ready to go. You can almost see how ineffective if you keep yourself perpendicular, and there he misses a drop entirely because I accelerated and used my speed burst. But as long as you don't get dropped on along the length of your ship, a perpendicular drop with those the carpet bombers, he set a fire. He did some damage. It wasn't nothing, but at the same time, it was mitigated pretty well. So, still down on points, but we're really close, and most importantly, they're not gaining any points outside of killing our ships. So we're in a pretty good position. We should actually be caught up here momentarily. And here I get a little bit lucky. I had to turn out because the CV was focusing me, and I was terrified that North Carolina was going to come steaming around the corner and have my side to shoot at. Fortunately, and I'm not entirely sure why, he initially angled away, which bought me just enough time to turn myself around and put myself in a position where I can not only be running from these torpedo bombers, and look at that, I mean, a rear drop isn't advisable anyway, but those torpedoes don't have a prayer of hitting me, and I couldn't be more grateful. I drop off of detection just before that North Carolina gets its salvo off, and here we end up considering my HP with a few moments where they're definitely hold your breath kind of moments. I am off detection, so I managed to avoid any damage there. And our friendly Mogami, not entirely sure what he was thinking here. If I were him, I would have taken a very, very hard left and tried to put myself on the east side of that island that he's on. But instead, he's basically a one-shot and he pushes forward. Now, at this point, once the mistake is made, I know exactly what he's thinking. He's thinking, I gotta get these torps off before I die. So, well done to him for at least getting his torps off, but that's about it. So, we still have the points lead, but they have a 2-ship advantage. And so far, I think the one major mistake made by the enemy team, and I didn't highlight this a few minutes ago, and I probably should have, they ended up chasing almost all of the enemy that were on the west side there, ended up chasing our Stalingrad into the furthest corner of the map, and some of them shouldn't. Some of them should have turned back or made a play in a different direction, and either way, our Kangaroo now starts to come in very, very useful here. To be honest, didn't notice what he had done a lot earlier in the game, so I don't mean to diminish his play earlier in this battle. It probably was very relevant. But he just got a major torpedo strike on the North Carolina, which is huge. Which means that North Carolina not only beached, but he used his damage control. So I immediately pop my last reload booster and do everything I can to get a fire, and there's a fire. So I'm hoping, and here's another hold your breath moment, hoping I can kill that NC while simultaneously not getting killed. Oh, okay. Considering the shell arcs on American battleships, that was actually a very well-placed shot. He predicted my deceleration very, very well, where very often I get away with using that move and the shots fall well forward. The enemy team, though, they're Des Moines and there's our pushing into B. We are close to victory at this point. All we need to do is continue to reset and to not die, and get a couple resets there, and along with it high caliber, which is very, very nice. And I'm kind of at this point ignoring the enemy. Not completely ignoring it, but for me just holding out these last few seconds is what's important, and continuing to reset B. And even at this point, the enemy is like, well, okay, maybe we called this one a little bit early. And as you can see, 97, and there we go. We pull off the victory. So hats off to my team and to my clanmate, Devo. That was some really good teamwork, and we did pull that one off somehow. It ended up with 165k damage, 9 citadels, which is funny because even during the game I didn't notice I had that many. Top of the team, almost 2600 base XP, which is very, very nice indeed, and a couple of awards to go with it. So this one was one that was very enjoyable, and my clanmate Devo just got himself a Henry, and he's loving it as much as I am to this point, so no surprise there whatsoever. I hope you enjoyed this replay. I know I enjoyed playing it. This is Captain Happy, signing off.